Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to Sci-Finatics. Well, today we're talking about episode 2 of Star Trek Lower Decks, which is entitled I Have No Bones, Yet I Must Flee. This is kind of one of those episodes. The title sounds very referencing episodes like that one in the original series that was entitled For the World is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky. It's sort of, you know, in a similar sort of tone to that. But this episode is our episode which kind of sees one of those menagerie type installations that we've seen before, which have an array of different, you know, strange alien life forms and creatures and everything in them. And there's plenty of little in-jokes and references and so forth to various past Star Trek episodes and everything in this, which we can take a look at as well. And also, you know, Mariner not being particularly happy about her promotion and trying to thwart that at every turn. Today we're going to take a look at that episode, go through it, talk about some of the little in-jokes and references and everything that we saw in episode 2 of Lower Decks Season 4, and have a bit of a discussion about that. So our episode starts off with the Romulans. They're been doing some torturing of some Remans and don't like that too much. Apparently they smell really bad. We have them on board a ship. We've got some scheming Romulans talking about, you know, trying to get themselves promoted and everything and murdering other Romulans to do so. All very sort of schemy Romulan things to do. And we get this probe back again that we saw at the end of the last episode. In the last episode they destroyed a Klingon ship. In this episode they destroyed a Romulan ship. So they're working their way through various different Alpha Quadrant races and wiping out various different vessels courtesy of this strange vessels which we're seeing. And next we get an exercising scene. Oh dear, this is not a good look. With Ransom and Shax doing some stretching and everything in the gym, wearing the same kind of leotards that Deanna Troi and Beverly Crusher wore in that similar Next Generation episode, where they were doing similar stretching and everything. That is one of those moments from Next Generation probably they regret doing now, I would say. But it was, you know, a lot of fun seeing Ransom and Shax doing that in this episode. That I'm actually kind of almost surprised it's taken them this long to kind of, you know, poke fun at that moment from Next Gen. And in this episode we see Boimler and Tendi moving out of their bunk hallway that they've been living in for quite some time there as ensigns. They're getting some quarters. They've got their boxes of collectibles and things that they've taken with them. Obviously Boimler's got his poster of number 1, which we saw referenced in the Strange New Worlds episode, amongst, you know, action figures of Mirror Universe Archer and his Cerritos dinner plate and things like that. And Tendy's got, you know, photos of the strange genetic mutant dog that she had as a pet in a previous season. And this episode kind of flips around a bit between different lower deckers doing different things. We've got Mariner on a away mission with Ransom and Ensign Gary to a menagerie installation or whatever, with a bunch of different aliens, life forms being on display there in this sort of space station zoo. We've got Boimler trying to move into different quarters, but being thwarted at every possible opportunity by these quarters being the quarters that just nobody wants. These are the worst quarters on the ship. We're obviously starting with a room right next to the nacelle Bussard collectors, right outside the window of his quarters, which is shining an incredibly bright red light in through the window, which basically burning out his retina. It's yeah, not the best location on the ship for quarters. And we've got Tendi and Rutherford. Seeing as how Rutherford didn't get his promotion to Lieutenant Junior grade in the last episode, he's trying to you know, impress Billups to get his extra pip in this episode. But there's a new engineer by the name of Livik who's really putting him in a lot of trouble to actually get noticed, because this new engineer is just basically cutting his grass at every opportunity to shine in engineering. And I love the way that he just Livik keeps thwarting Rutherford at every turn. And we've almost, I think it almost feels like a bit of a Seinfeld reference here, with Rutherford going, Livik. Jerry Seinfeld used to always do in Seinfeld, we used to go, Newman! Newman! Livik! That rivalry between Jerry Seinfeld and Newman, and this Livik! Seems like it might be a bit of a reference to that. Meanwhile, we've got Mariner and Ransom and Ensign Gary on this weird menagerie station. Mariner's obviously trying to get demoted, so she isn't even wearing her uniform. She's just wearing her sweat clothes from being at the gym, so she doesn't care and is trying to torpedo her promotion. We see a bunch of different aliens here in the hallways of the menagerie station. There's a koala there on display, obviously the giant space koala or whatever, is a regular reference on Lower Decks. You know, the koala that you see at the end of the universe or whatever when you die or whatever it is. So you know, that's always cool to see our koala friend there from the other side of, you know, the spiritual realm or whatever.
We have the Alpha 117 K9 from the episode of the original series, The Enemy Within.
Our caretaker of the menagerie, a guy called Naj. Yeah, Naj, I'm not sure whether you guys have this in the US, but Naj looks very much like a kids show character we have in Australia. I think it's in the UK as well. The bananas in pajamas. B1 and B2. Naj just looks like a banana in pajamas to me. He's a very unusual alien we've never seen before. I think he's based on a tree type life form that they're talking about, but he kind of looks more like a banana or a scarecrow or something.
And one of the first bugs we see here in the bottom right-hand corner is the SETI Alpha 5 earbugs that we see Khan put in Chekhov and Captain Tyrrell in Star Trek II Wrath of Khan. We also see an Aldebaran serpent, which Q turns into briefly in the first season Next Gen episode Hide and Q.
We get a very cute alien life form that sort of looks more like a Hello Kitty or like one of those sort of Japanese anime cutesy characters. Like a Hello Kitty kind of thing, called Moopsy. Moopsy looks obviously very cute and very cuddly and adorable, but Moopsy has another side. Moopsy likes to eat the bones of its victims by basically biting down on them and sucking all of their bones out, I guess, through their skin or something, which is quite gruesome. Apparently all the aliens in this menagerie are all, you know, lethal in some capacity. Meanwhile, back on the Cerritos, obviously, you know, Rutherford's trying umpteen different ways to get his extra pip there by impressing Billups, but keeps getting thwarted at every turn by Livik. And like there's even little moments like those red lasers that you kind of often saw in engineering, I think in the earlier seasons of Next Generation, where they were just these sort of bizarre red lasers or neon tubes sort of pulsating. They never kind of said what they were for. They sort of looked very sciencey, but never seemed to have more of a function
than being pretty on screen. Rutherford named them the Tucker tubes, obviously in honour of Trip Tucker from Enterprise. But they later got renamed the Billups tubes when Livik was trying to suck up.
So I thought that was fun that we kind of highlighted these kind of red lasers that were there in engineering. Didn't seem to serve any kind of function, but they kind of looked cool. Boimler's obviously bouncing around again, trying to find new quarters. Obviously the ones that were right next to the nacelle weren't any good, and Shax is helping him move to another set of quarters. But these quarters aren't any better because they're slap bang right in the middle between two holodecks. We've got a holodeck on one side, holodeck on the other. We've got Freeman doing a holodeck program about receiving some award from Starfleet. On the other side, we've got Shax and Ta'ana doing some Robin Hood program. In the other one, making a lot of noise. We've got the walls vibrating on either sides. It doesn't seem like the best quarters either. The junior grade lieutenants don't get too much better quarters than the hallway quarters that they were in as ensigns. Meanwhile, the Moopsy gets let out on the station. We've got all of our away team there running for their lives before the Moopsy eats them. The very cute yet deadly Moopsy. The Moopsy being a devourer of people's bones that come up with a plan to basically knock all of Ransom's teeth out and feed them to Moopsy to lead the Moopsy back to his pen in the menagerie, where we find out that the humans that are being held there in the menagerie, which they weren't meant to be there, they got sort of swept up in the capture of different life forms, I guess, were trying to use the Moopsy to take out the proprietor, Mr. Naj, and kill him so they could take over and run the facility for themselves, but it didn't quite work out that way for them. They ended up remaining stuck in their little prison cell or display cell there on the menagerie, and Ransom ends up with a mouth with no teeth. So he ends up at the end having to get the whole teeth replacement by Ta'ana, which look enormous, big piano key like teeth that just look ridiculous. So I hope they're gonna maybe just fine-tune them a little bit in future episodes rather than watching Ransom for the rest of the season with these enormous piano key-like teeth. And at the end we find out that Rutherford could have had his promotion to junior grade lieutenant quite some time ago. He's been passing up promotions for quite some time because he obviously has been doing good engineering work for seasons, and he's been promoted, but he's passed it up because he doesn't want to say goodbye to his friends, particularly Tendi. He wanted to kind of stay, on par with them. so he kept kind of passing it up and everything. But he could have, you know, had the promotion at any time, so he didn't need to wait to impress Billups. He just could have asked for it. Hey, you know that promotion you tried to give me last year? I'll have that now, thank you very much. It's good that I think all the ensigns got bumped up to junior grade lieutenant at the same time, so everybody's on an even playing field. But yeah, it was a bit of fun to see the menagerie and everything. Obviously, that's referencing other Star Trek episodes, you know, a bit like The Cage and a bit like The Most Toys, where we had different collectors and everything, you know, putting together interesting zoo-like displays of different life forms from around the galaxy and so forth. I like the fact we had a lot going on in this episode with the different characters doing different things. You know, Mariner on the menagerie station, Boimler trying to find quarters, you know, Tendi and Rutherford trying to get promoted and thwarting Livik with you know, good acts of engineering and so forth. So there's quite a bit going on in this episode, and it was all pretty entertaining. Overall, I thought this episode was a bit of fun. I think the first episode was definitely a stronger episode, but there was still some entertaining bits and pieces in this episode, and some, you know, laugh out loud moments, which is good. But let me know what you guys thought about this episode in the comment section. Leave a message in there and we'll get chatting about that. And as always, guys, if you haven't subscribed to Sci-Finatics yet, be sure to do so. Click on that big subscribe button to stay current and up to date with all the latest Star Trek news on YouTube. Check out my merch store, plenty of cool Star Trek t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, caps, you name it. Lots of great Star Trek designs and sci-fi designs and everything in there to have a look at, so be sure to do that. Links in the description. And yeah, I'll be back very soon with my next video. I'll catch you guys soon.